All right, somebody says I missed the point. I didn't miss the point. I never missed the point. Other people missed the point. I pointed out what the point that I missed. I should have said that Ted Cruz offered and claimed he wasn't going to take any subsidies so that he does not appear to be an elitist. I pointed that out in the previous hour. He's not going to take any subsidy, even one that he qualifies for. And the reason he's not going to do that is because he doesn't want to be on the dole. He doesn't want to take any more of taxpayer money than he already is by signing up for Obamacare. I made that clear in the first part of the first hour of the program, and in that sense, he's avoiding the trap of appearing to be identical to the elites on this, who don't have a problem. Now they're all happy about this at the White House. They're very happy they had an official welcoming ceremony at Ted Cruz and Obamacare. At the White House, here's the press secretary, Josh Earnest, this afternoon at the press briefing. A reporter said, "Could you comment on the news that Senator Cruz is looking at obtaining health care insurance through a health care exchange under Obamacare?"
What he will find is the same thing that millions of Americans across the country have found, which is that there are good, quality, affordable health care plans that are available because of the Affordable Care Act. And these are plans that will ensure that people are no longer discriminated against because they have a pre-existing condition. These are plans that will ensure that individuals are not discriminated against just because they're women.
What?
These are plans that will ensure that the recipients have access to free preventative services like free mammograms and free birth control.
Oh, yes, Ted Cruz's wife is going to need what? Birth control pills? $3,000 a month? Birth control pills? Condoms? This is something he's going to find out. This is such a great thing. His wife is going to discover all of these preventative services. This, by the way, this pre-existing condition, people have forgotten the pool that they created. People didn't sign up for that. That kind of withered on the vine, this whole pre-existing condition thing. This is nothing more than an agenda cheat sheet here. Plans will ensure people are no longer discriminated against because they have a pre-existing condition. That's not discrimination. I know it's become discrimination in our culture, but it isn't. Won't discriminate because they're women. That's what Ted Cruz is going to find. Anyway, they're happy about it. They're welcoming to it. And the exchange continued with this question from the unnamed reporter.
You don't seem to be taking the bait for the ironic moment that this represents.
I have noticed that a number of other people have pointed out the irony. I'm seeking to merely point out the common experience that it seems that the Cruz family may be sharing in.
Yeah, so I'll leave the irony to you guys, my buddies and my associates. I don't need to point out the irony because I've got you schlubs in the media doing it for us. So all I'm going to do is point out how happy and satisfied Senator Cruz is going to be once he learns the truth of Obamacare. He will never want to be without it. And that's what we're so happy that he's going to learn. Now, if you want to point out the irony, you go right ahead. I've noticed a lot of people already doing that, but I'm not going to go there. Unstated, because I don't have to. You guys are taking care of that for us. And we appreciate it here at the regime. And here's Dave in Bedford, Ohio, as we head back to the phones. Great to have you, Dave. Thank you for waiting, and welcome to the program.
Hey, Rush. I just want to take one quick second for you have really changed the way I think about a lot of different things. Conservatism and the way you explain it and the way you explained it, the way I hit my ears. I just wanted to thank you for changing the way I look at not just politics, but this is my life as a whole. And I just wanted to thank you sincerely for changing the way I look at things, not just through heart, but through real reason and understanding and on basis of facts and not just opinions and half-hearted nonsense like you hear out in the real media out there. I just want to thank you for that real quick.
I appreciate that very much, sir. Thank you very much.
But as far as Ted Cruz goes, I think he's playing it this way. I don't obviously know for a fact, but me personally, my premiums went up when Obamacare took effect. The last 2 years, I had 2 raises at my job the last 2 years, and basically they went for paying my higher premiums for my family health care coverage. And Ted Cruz has been a constant proponent of it, obviously, or I should say opponent of Obamacare, and I think he's signing up for it. Hey, I get it. Me and everybody else knows he can afford whatever he wants. He can go outside. But the point is to make the point, and this is that I think that his premiums may not go up, but his coverage may go down, or his premiums may go up, or he can maybe contrast his wife's policy with Obamacare's policy, and, well, hey, my wife had to take, leave of absence from her job.
I have to point something out here. I know that that's what you want him to do, but he hasn't done that. We got to be very careful here that we don't project our own desires on Cruz's actions. You may want him to say those things, and you may want what you've described his attitude to be his attitude. So far, I may have missed it, but I haven't seen him say any of that. I haven't seen him express any regret. I haven't seen him react to any of the so-called irony. I don't know what the irony is of Ted Cruz being forced into Obamacare. It's the law. I don't know what the irony. What do they expect him to do? Break the law? Make a stand for it? I don't understand. Not wrong button, Robert. Go ahead.
Oh, as far as that goes, hey, when he said yesterday, I'm just following the letter of the law, even if I disagree with it, just a presidential candidate saying that is music to my ears. Hey, maybe you disagree with it, but hey, I'm going along with it. Hey, it's more than the president's doing right now, number one.
Right.
And number two, I think he's a very smart man. I think he knows what he was getting himself into, and I think he may have already done a little bit of research on this and maybe knows that he's going to lose his family doctor or premiums shift one way or another, or something's going to happen where he can say, hey, I'm one with you guys. You know what? I'm being affected by Obamacare too. I'm with you on this.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right. I'll tell you what we'll have to do here. We're going to have to wait for a while to see if your theory is true. Because basically what you're saying is that Cruz has thought about this in advance. This was not just a random decision. And that at some point he's going to take the occasion of his having to sign up and turn it into a political advantage or weapon. And you think that he's going to describe how he's maybe not able to keep the doctor he liked, or he has getting less coverage than he had, or whatever. You think that is what is coming next?
Absolutely. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. He didn't go through a government shutdown and do what he's been doing for nada. I think we need to have somebody that's man enough to fight the good fight and point. Well, yeah, he could go other places, but I need to stand here with these people and make this point.
Well, I agree with that. Look, I agree with the guys. It's music to our ears to hear a presidential candidate express reverence for the law. But remember, he'd better point that out. You can't rely on the low information crowd to pick up on the subtlety of that. The low information crowd is not saying, wow, man, I love Cruz. He's actually obeying the law, as opposed to Obama, who's breaking it, because they don't think Obama's breaking the law. By definition, they're low info. Look, folks, I don't want to overdo this. I don't want to be so redundant on this that you get to the point that, come on, Rush, I've heard it, but I want to say this enough so that you understand it. Ted Cruz had the choice of going COBRA, which would have cost him $20,000 a year, probably more, because that's the value that his wife's policy or benefit at Goldman Sachs contained. And when she left, took her unpaid leave, they lose that. So they were used to a $20,000 health care benefit. If they go COBRA and avoid Obamacare, which is what some people wanted him to do, then he's looking at that expense. So he could do that, or he could get insurance through his employer and have the employer subsidize his premiums by up to 75%. Now, that's the law. I don't know to what extent that he is. He said he's not taking any subsidies, and these subsidies he's not going to take. What Cruz is doing here is being fiscally responsible for his family first. something the left doesn't understand. He isn't taking any subsidy. He's getting insurance through his employer. That is not a subsidy. And he's required to do that by law. He has to do what he did. Or he can go the fine route, again, as we've explained. It is not his fault that his employer is mandating that he use Obamacare. Just like it's not your fault that you are mandated to use Obamacare. It's not his fault. It's not your fault. Some people want him to take a stand because they think that would be consistent with hating Obamacare, so he ought to not do it. But he's got a family, and he's got family responsibilities there. Now, let's keep in mind also, Democrat congressmen and their staffers, do you remember this? They screamed bloody murder about having to go under Obamacare when they found out how much it was going to cost. I will never forget this. Harry Reid and a bunch of Democrat leaders just yelped and when they found out their staffers do not make enough money to afford Obamacare. So the staffers who were not going to qualify for subsidies were all of Obama just waved a magic wand and granted congressional staffers subsidies up to 75% of the cost is being subsidized, but not through the exchanges. Obama set up a subsidy program for congressional staffers that runs through a different federal bureaucracy. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's a common one. It's not something deeply hidden. Do you remember this? I will never forget it. So many surprises erupted when Obamacare began its implementation process. And Senate staffers, the people that wrote the damn thing in many cases, were just outraged. Some of these people making $110,000, $120,000 a year could not afford it. And they whined and they moaned, and Harry Reid went out and whined and they moaned. And they were given subsidies that were of a 75% value. 75% of the total cost is being paid by taxpayers through a different federal bureaucracy. People like Harry Reid went out of their way to try to exempt their staff from Obamacare. And many of the staff, as I just explained, have been exempted. So what exactly is the irony of Ted Cruz being forced into Obamacare? Now, there's a story here in the stack. I should have put this near the top, but I wasn't thinking properly. I didn't think that it was going to hit with the Cruz story. Let me take another call, and I'll look for it while I'm talking to the next caller. This is Larry in Nashville. Larry, great that you called. I appreciate you waiting, and welcome to the program. Hello.
Oh, same here, Rush. It's great to talk to you. I've been a fan of you ever since I was 14. That was back when I was a liberal. That was back in 2008, and I supported McCain after starting to hear in your radio show, and now I'm 21. And I'm also Hispanic, so, it's crazy. Well, I'm calling because of Ted Cruz signing up for this Obamacare. I don't necessarily see it. I do see it as him, by law, going and signing up for this Obamacare. But he is also, I see it as him setting a precedent for American responsibility. We have to go get Obamacare. We have to go pay taxes to the IRS. Some of us may agree that the IRS is unconstitutional, but it's our responsibility to pay our police officers and pave our roads. I see it as a responsibility, not so much as him being dragged out to the Obama exchange to be forced to buy this. I see it as a responsibility for Americans to start being responsible with their stuff. We used to support civil defense. We used to support the war effort. We used to vote. Now there's such a apathy across the country. No one really cares anymore.
Well, again, what you have, you are constructing your own explanation / justification to make yourself feel comfortable with what Cruz is doing, and I understand that. And to you, he's engaging here in a civic and responsible way. There is the law, and then there's also the right thing to do. Because signing up for Obamacare supposedly, theoretically, helps defray costs for others, which is one of the so-called intended objectives here. But I need to caution all of you here. Remember, I am the mayor of Realville for a reason. I live there. And the population is very, very small. All of the things that I have heard today from people who've called explaining to themselves why Cruz is doing this, he hasn't said. He has not said, okay, I have to do this. Just wait a couple weeks and I'm going to find out why I did this. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be able to blow this to smithereens by pointing out how I lost my doctor or how premiums have gone up or what. He hasn't said any of that. So there's a lot of projection going on. The point is, I have looked, and I have had some people look for me as the program has been on the air here. We can't find one news story, one example of Ted Cruz doing this under protest. Not one. So if you are thinking that he's doing this with some form of protest or some political angle that we don't yet know, that's fine. But please understand, he has not said anything like that yet. Now, the fact that people are constructing these scenarios tells me they're uncomfortable with what he's done here. I'm just being honest. For everybody that's called here today, no, Rush, you just wait. What Cruz is doing is, and then they tell me what his strategy is. It tells me you're not really kosher with this. There's something about this that you not feeling comfortable about. Which I understand, by the way. Here's this guy who has huffed and puffed and sworn off Obamacare and has promised to repeal it and hadn't had a good thing to say about it from day one. And we all wake up one day and there's Cruz smilingly signing up for it. And if your reaction is, whoa, this doesn't compute, then I can understand that. So you would construct for your own comfort in this scenarios you think might explain why he's doing this. And then you've called here to share them with all of us. That's fine and dandy. But I'm just cautioning you, he hasn't said anything yet that gives life to any of the theories that we've heard here. He may, down the road, don't know. All he said is he's going to follow the law. And his wife left her employment, leaving the family uninsured. So now he has to insure the family, and the law says he has to do it with Obamacare. His employer's the federal government. It's mandated that he has this Obamacare coverage, and that's it. He did not say when he signed up, I regret having to do this. He did not act unhappy. He did not act like he felt embarrassed over having to do this. He did not act in any way negative about this at all. So we'll just have to wait.